Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is going to bring us a message of hope for the holiday season. Thank you so much. We're joined by Derek Matthews. And you are the author of the book, I Was Knocked Down, and what's the subtitle?
I was knocked out.
I was knocked out.
My faith got me through. Yep.
And so we're talking about faith and hope and making it through the storm during the holiday season. And Lord knows you made it through the storm.
I have.
So what message would you have to our youth, to our young men, about going through the storm, making it out of the storm?
That's a great question. So let me tell you what I tell folks when I'm traveling talking. There's three types of people that I talk to in an audience, and I always ask folks to listen to me carefully. There are those that are going into, quote, a storm or tribulations. There are those that are in it, right, for the moment. You're dealing with whatever it is. And then there's that third person. You're coming out of it. And the reality is when you're in it, is when you're going to learn the most about yourself and who you are. And it's when you're in it that you've got to learn to listen to what's being said to you, because that's going to ultimately help you deal with how you get out of it and what you do when you get out of it.
The men and women process things very differently. For example, if I'm in a crisis situation, I can call my girlfriend, I can call my sister and say, hey, Gwen, I'm going through this, I just want to cry. This is happening to me. And with men, you all don't communicate in the same way.
We don't.
So how do you encourage men to not just so much cry, but to deal with their emotions?
So with men and women alike, Stephanie, we tend to, I just shared with you a little while ago before we came on, is that we'll fall and scrape. We'll fall and cut. We'll fall and break a bone. We'll go straight to the first aid cabinet or to a doctor and get it fixed. But when we have spiritual unrest, spiritual destruction of something, or even mental destruction of something, we tend to, as a people, not want to go seek help because it historically has been told to us that it's a sign of weakness. I beg to differ that we've got to change the paradigm. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of determining where you are and what you do next. And what we forget is that our young people behind us are watching every single thing that we do and what we say. We've got to encourage them that it's okay for men to cry. It's okay for men to reach out to another brother and say, yo, dude, I need help. Can you come over right now? Or, yo, man, stop what you're doing. I need you. It's okay to do that. And we just have got to get past that.
And if you don't get help, it manifests in so many
ways,
in so many damaging ways. If you just keep it inside, because it's not inside, it goes out, but it just goes out in ways that are not healthy.
And it's not healthy to ourselves, to our physical being, to our mental and spiritual being, but it's not helpful to the loved ones around us because it just reeks out like a bad cancer. And one of two things are going to happen. This is where your addiction problems come, whether it be drinking, substance, physical abuse of something, or at the end of the day, it leads to some type of depression or something mental that can ultimately end badly. So we've got to learn to seek that necessary help. Mentorship is key. Every person on a mission to do better needs someone else to help push or motivate them.
How do you find that mentor? And that's been something lacking, especially in the African American community for a very long time, that mentorship. How do you find a mentor, the right mentor?
Well, for one, you got one sitting in front of you. So for the listeners, I'm always available to do as a coach and as a motivator. This is what I strive to do. It's like a calling. So historically, you have your church. Church was always the foundation, your pastor or some leader in the church. That's a good start. A lot of brothers are not going to church. Nothing to take away from them, but there are brothers like myself walking around who are willing to help but you've got to learn to reach out. So a lot of my speaking engagements now are going into churches or men's groups that are formed within a church that are looking for somebody to come in. That's not a classical preacher, if you will, not somebody who is, quote, the pastor of a church, but somebody to come in and willing to put it all on the line. And sometimes when you hear somebody else in a position where you think you are, and it's the worst place in the world, when you hear someone else has gotten out of it, it sends a message like, wow, if he can do it, so can I.
What about the question, you're sitting here, well-educated, a professional. What do you say to the person who says, he can't possibly know my pain?
So one thing you can't do is compare your pain to someone else's. Compare your journey to another person's journey, because what you're dealing with was 100% created by some architect greater than you and I. It was created for you. So what you have to understand is what you are dealing with is your story. You've got to change how it ends. And the fact that it was given to you, you've also got to process that it wasn't given to you for you to fail. The strongest battles are only given to the toughest soldiers. So you've got to process. When the person is talking to you, they're simply sharing their journey to show you and help you understand how they did it, to give you instructions on how you can navigate to ultimately change your paradigm. But you can never compare what somebody else has to yours in a sense of, how do you know what I'm going through, right? You've got to deal with what you're dealing with and just simply take the advice given.
Or someone may feel like, oh, he comes from a life that's been more privileged than the life I've led. So how can he understand my struggle?
So I would proffer to that person, because I do hear that, and I tell you where I hear it. I hear it a lot of times with young men when I go into the high schools, where a young man may come from a less privileged environment that I did, i.e. the projects. But what that young man has to understand is that while I strived, I didn't come from where he came from, but I did strive to become a very successful individual who at the end of the day fell on hard times because of simple decision and lost everything. Home, friends, money, you name it, and found myself in a place that you have never found yourself. So when we flip the script and they say, wow, you've been to federal prison with your suit on and your tie and your nice car and your rebuilt home. Yes, I too have been in that feeling that you're feeling, but our stories, while they are tremendously different, we are still one and the same. We both had to deal with some adversity. The question is, what do we do with it and how do we move on?
This is a time of despair for a lot of people with the direction that they may perceive that the country is going in. A time of despair for African Americans. Some of us may believe that the clock has been turned back to a certain degree when it comes to certain rights that we thought we had, that we thought our parents and grandparents fought for. All of a sudden we seem to have taken a step back. What is your message of hope?
My message of hope surrounding what you just put in that question is, at the end of the day, I don't believe we've traveled back. What I believe is that what we've been seeing for hundreds of years is simply being exposed more to us in a different form because of social media, because of the level of comfortability that those folks who are perpetrating this illusion that they're more powerful than us or they're better than us. They've now got a stronger voice because from a level of leadership we've never seen before, it's given them that feeling that it's okay for them to say how they feel. Well, I would proffer to everybody listening that we too still have the same burning desire we had hundreds of years ago when we were singing the old hymns and coming out of slavery. At the end of the day, we stuck together. Our church was our rock and our foundation. Our families, our family units were so strong. Grandma, mom, dad, that unit. We still have the ability as a people to be that same people we were spiritually, mentally, and within the heart that we were then. We're choosing to conform to other ways of the world that we cannot we cannot allow to control us. So at the end of the day, to me, as far as me keeping hope, it doesn't matter to me who's in the White House and who we call president. I've still got to focus on Derek being that husband and being that father and being that community leader that folks expect me to be.
Let's talk about moving into the new year. A lot of people around this time of year go through a depression as you consider what's going to happen or what could possibly happen in the future. You're dealing with family around the holiday season and what happened in the past. How do you prevent from getting those holiday blues?
I don't know that you can prevent it, because at my pinnacle of being the motivator, I still too feel that sometimes butterfly feeling of the holiday blues, as you call them. My mom, we're coming up on 7 years that she passed. During that period of time, you recall my brother also passed. So it's a tough time for me too, but what I do is I don't let that negative energy and that feeling bring me down. I use it just to the reverse. So as many people as I can help get rid of the feelings that they may have, whether it be talking to them, whether it be me reaching out to them, whether it be me responding to them reaching out to me, I try to keep my mind occupied to a point of positivity. I don't do negative, right? I do not do negative. So if I walk into a room and it's one of those, quote, Debbie Downer moments, if I can't change it, I got to remove myself from it. Right? And I need folks to understand that during the holiday season, families are sometimes all we have. They're the best of the best. But families, too, can also be the reverse. And you've got to make sure that that level of that unit, that feeling of everyone coming together and feeling happy, you've got to let that manifest. You can't let the little negative draw everybody down.
Sometimes going home means bringing back those ghosts.
It does.
You know, 5 years ago you did this or you did that, or when I was 7, remember how you used to. How do you, and sometimes we revert back to childhood.
We do. We do.
Just going home again, it just clicks off these memories, these episodes that may have shaped you into who you are. But like you said, sometimes family's all we have.
And so the question would be, you flip that, because while you say that, I can also say that certain songs, certain smells in the kitchen, certain conversations that you may overhear, a simple commercial could bring back a memory, but they're usually good memories, right? Because what we remember is events in our lives, right? We don't remember everything unless an event that happened is what triggers that. So I try to stay focused on the good memories. I try to stay focused on when I smell that while mom was putting her foot in it then, and it brings a smile to my face. And that's what she would want me to do. My brother would want me to have a good time during the holidays. And that's what I try to focus on.
In the coming year, we're coming on a new year, which means a clean slate. For most people, if that's the way you want to perceive it, where you can start over again, where you can begin again.
Yes, yes.
How do you do that?
So that's a great closing question, if you will. And the word that I use is something that I've created a new brand on, and that's reconciliation. Reconciliation is something that's got to begin with you. You can't focus on what your brother did to you in 17 or 18 and take that into 19. You've got to understand that it's up to you inside for you to let that be gone, either go talk to that person and try to make it right before we close this year out so you don't carry that in. It's like a relationship. Sometimes when we're in a bad relationship, we tend to carry that relationship into the new one, and the new person is unfairly mistreated because you're bringing that baggage to them. They didn't do you wrong. You two are in something new. Let this new year coming be a new year that you bring nothing but positive energy into, and make it successful. Make it work for you, and determine how many people you're willing to help bring along with you. But true reconciliation has got to be about you fixing you inside, not the other person.
How important is it to reach out and help others?
It's very important. Each one of us has the ability, and I know this sounds way off the chart, but each one of us has the ability to change the world. Now, people look at that and they say, oh, he's getting real deep now. But changing the world is a lot bigger than just the word sounds. If you can help feed someone that wasn't able to eat, if you can help clothe someone, if you can help bring a smile to a young person's life at Christmas, do that, because that person will remember that event for the rest of their lives. If you do that to one, if you do it to 10, other people will see you do it and will begin to perpetuate that positive energy. And that's what we got to do, Stephanie. We got to stop focusing on what we can't control.
And another thing, it shouldn't just be at Christmas time. It should be a year-round thing.
It shouldn't, but it's not. So because we are talking about Christmas and the holidays, let's just even start with that. Let's make going into 19 what we do in 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and carry that torch. That's what our ancestors would want us to do.
How has faith helped you in your journey, or how should we put faith first? Sometimes we go in with this Christmas list of things we want for the coming year, for the coming days. Can I have this, or I want that, or this? And we ask for that list over and over again instead of asking once and then having the faith to know it's going to happen.
Girl, your questions are off the chain. We could do this for hours. So you said a couple of things. Faith is that belief in something that you can't see. So if you believe in what you want more than what you even believe in yourself, then that's what you're going to obtain. And the second piece of my title is how my faith got me through. Faith is everything to me. And the fact that I don't care who you believe in, what you believe in, you got to believe in something. You didn't create this, right? So at the end of the day, putting that belief that something higher than you exists and make things happen. But the second thing that you said is what I want for Christmas, what I want. It can't be about you. You have to ask yourself, what would the higher power, i.e. God to me, what would he want me to do? And that's what I need to put my focus on. As far as Christmas goes, we had this thing in my house this year. We're gonna do a want, a need, a read, and a wear. Those 4 things, right? Something you want, something you feel you need, something you're gonna read, and something you're gonna wear. We're gonna stop right there, right? And you have to figure out what is it you really need, because that's still, at the end of the day, a really want, right? What can you read to better yourself? And what would you like to wear, right? And those are the 4 things that we're gonna focus on. We're not gonna go all over the place at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, it's more about the family and what can we do to share this journey that we've been on. Because I didn't walk this journey by myself. Carla walked it with me, Arrington walked it with me, and Ariana walked it with me. And as a unit, we'll continue to walk together.
How can a parent's beliefs shape their children? Because that's what you're doing, that's what you're talking about, is shaping your children. These are lessons they're probably gonna bring to their children.
And their children. And we've got to, I think we said that earlier, that our beliefs shape exactly who those young people are. And it's not even just our young people. It could be a niece, a nephew. As a teacher, it could be the 20 students in your classroom. As a church leader, it could be the Sunday school kids who don't have what they see in you at home. So again, we've got to be cognizant of adults, of what we allow come out of our mouths, because the tongue is mightier than any sword ever created. And at the end of the day, what our actions are. We do one thing, but we say something else. Those two can't go opposite. We've got to say what we mean and do what we said we were going to do. And at the end of the day, that's how everything comes together. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
And a lot of times, as we see, people don't. They don't do what they say. Or we get to January, we get to the end of January, and you've made all of these commitments of what you're going to do, resolutions, and you break them one at a time. Some are broken more quickly than others. How do you keep your word when it comes to these resolutions that you want for yourself for the coming days?
You've got to make it tangible. You've got to make it things that are actually worth achieving, and not focus on When I was in another life in the security and law enforcement world, we had things that we were things that we thought could possibly happen, right? But things that we thought could potentially happen. We've got to focus on what we can potentially do, right? Not what possibly, because we look at the outcomes and we think, well, if I do that, I'm going to fail. Well, how about if you don't do it? Will you ever know? And I focus a lot now, Stephanie, on not talking about my successes. I love to talk about my failures, because what I've learned is that failing is where I actually got the lesson. I didn't learn anything from the success, right? What I learned from was how things didn't work. So at the end of the day, we've got to put ourselves in tangible stages of, I'm not going to focus on just losing 10 pounds, right? I'm not going to focus on just going to the gym twice a week. I'm going to focus on living healthy. I'm going to focus on getting my blood pressure down, focus on getting my sugar levels down, focus on getting healed from an injury that I have. Those are things that are tangible that we can wake up every day, pray on, and move towards those goals.
Because you can't sit there and say, well, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 30 days.
No, it's why would you do that to yourselves? Why would you just not say, I'm going to eat clean and make myself feel better, right? Why would you just not say, or if you want to do something, hang something up that you can look at and say, I'm going to get in that soon. I'm going to work and do everything I can to be able to wear that.
You know, my kids, they make fun of me because I've been doing that all their lives. I hang up pictures of what it is that I want to do for the future. I remember, as a matter of fact, with this show, it's called the Sisters4Fitness Wellness Show. I remember years earlier, I put up a picture down the basement, and it said, Sister Fit.
Okay.
And I had a picture of a woman running.
There you go.
And it was my vision of getting women, particularly African American women, to start thinking more about their health. And because it was this weird picture Mama has, but it was my vision.
That's right.
And it took years to manifest, but it's what you have to be able to see it.
That's right. And you made it work. And you, along the way, you probably times where you felt like it was a complete failure. It's just not working. It's just nothing's happening. But you didn't give up, right? And that's the kicker. Perseverance. We don't need to we are so quick to give up. We give up on relationships. We give up on jobs. Somebody at work you can't stand, so you quit because that person get to the next job, got the same drama, and find out a month later that person's not at the job anymore. What you quit for? So at the end of the day, we've got to set goals and boundaries to live within that are meaningful to us and meaningful to the children that are watching us go through. I'm watching your boys on Facebook, off the chain. It doesn't get any successful, but they're watching what you and your husband have done over the years.
You know, you just mentioned the fact that a person will leave a job or whatever because it's someone there that a lot of times that person misses the lesson, and you'll meet a similar person in the next job.
Yeah.
Until you learn that lesson, you're going to keep coming back to and the person's name is different, the person looks different, but that person is there to teach you something.
That's right.
And if you don't learn it here, it's going to keep happening over and over and over again.
And that's life's journey. It happens in church. Look how many people leave a church because they don't like the pastor. They leave the church because they don't like the choir. You get to the next church, got the same problem. So if you've seen it in 3 jobs or seen it at 3 different churches, what's the common denominator? You got to look in the mirror and say, maybe it's me. I'm not doing something. I'm missing something. I'm in the storm, but I'm not listening. So every time I think I come out because I didn't really hear what was happening, I find myself back in it. Those are those 3 people I'm talking about. And faith will allow you to beat all of those odds because it's allowing you to believe in something that you can't actually see.
And some people say they have faith, but they don't. They can speak the word, they can say the word, but do you truly know?
Do you know what it means? And be careful of what you pray for, because some people even pray, Lord, give me the faith right now. Okay, he gives it to you. Well, how do you know you have it? unless it's tested. I didn't believe at one point I may have had it until those steel doors shut. And I processed for the next 15 months, I've got to survive this. And the only way I can survive this is if I listen exactly to what you tell me to do. You told me to get up at this time. You told me to work out at this time. You told me to eat at this time. You told me to read this scripture at this time. You told me to write. You told me when I got out, this is what you wanted me to do. And you do that.
But that came from listening to your gut or listening to that voice. A lot of people, the voice comes and they don't want to hear it. How did you know that it's time to listen?
It's that it's almost like a supernatural deal when that faith, as we're talking about, and that spirit actually hits. It's going to hit everybody different. To me, it was like a cold chill. It was like laying in the bed and the window having a crack in it, and you feel that chill come in. There was no chill, there was no window when that steel door shut, but the reality was, it was almost like your dad or somebody coming and shutting the door saying, okay, now that I have your attention, right? But it wasn't in a voice form, it was a feeling, right? And when that steel, because I didn't have the key, Stephanie. For 20-some years as a cop, I had the key. I would shut that door and turn that key, right? I would punch out at the end of the day and go home. When that door shut and I didn't have a key, I had on those shoes and that uniform and a bedroll, they call it. The reality set in that the only way I'm going to survive this is if I listen to what you have to say.
Now we've got about 30 seconds for you to give the Derek Matthews words of wisdom.
Wow.
For the coming year.
My words of wisdom for the coming year is make things right with family, make things right with friends. If you've got something that you've done or something that you've said that hurt someone, or something's been said to you that hurt you, do your best to try to reconcile that. Start with you first. Look in the mirror and say, what did I do? What can I do to make it right? After you've done that, do your best to try to get it right with the next person, specifically a loved one, and try to make sure that going into 19, that you have a sense of peace. You have a sense of rest within yourself, that you can eat right, work out, spiritually get it right, medically, mentally, and be whole self. You can't have one without the other. Right?
Very good, very good. You wrapped it up in 30 seconds.
Thank you.
We've been talking to Derek Matthews, who's one of my favorite guests. He's a consultant, motivational speaker, author, and just all around good brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's always good being here.
You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Have a great day and have a happy holiday.